Hello, everyone, and welcome to MAP Forum. I'm Nigar Rokar, and I have the pleasure of hosting the weekly webinars for the Medici Archive Project. Today, I am delighted to have one of the Medici Archive Project's fellows, Beatrice Solomon Fellow, Dr. Inbar Strul-Dabull with us, who just finished her fellowship at MAP and who is also going to talk about her project at MAP. Just to give you a little bit of background, she just graduated from Tel Aviv University, and her area of focus is on gender power dynamics and how that influenced women's lives and opportunities in the early modern period. What a fascinating topic, Inbar. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know it's very late for you, so a special thank you for you for being here.
Thank you, Nigar, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you all for being here with me, especially those on European time zone. This is my first time at the MAP Forum, and I'm both honored and excited to be here today with you. In the talk today, I will introduce my research project as a MAP Fellow last fall. So rather than presenting a finished study or like a complete book or a linear or a full research in a linear fashion, I will outline today the core ideas of my project and share some of my preliminary findings. I will share with you now my presentation in hope, we will be able to see it properly. We had some problems when we tried it before. Okay. And so, okay. I do hope you see it in the presentation mode, and if not, then it is what it is.
Yeah, I know we tried very hard, but some very unusual problem happened. But so just so you know, Inbar, we're not seeing the image completely. I think because you zoomed in. Yeah.
So
we're looking at the title and your name, but not the image.
Okay, I'll try and do this again.
Thank you.
This is better. You see now the whole image?
Your screen is not shared yet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Past midnight.
It's okay. It always happens for a live talk, especially when it is midnight. So, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, yes. That's better.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay. Still not presentation mode.
Still not presentation mode, but we tried every icon that could possibly work.
So we'll leave it and we'll just go to the lecture, and then it is as it is. It will be okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. In 1600, a 25-year-old Tuscan princess arrived in France to become its queen. She brought with her not just the prestige of the Medici and the money, but years of careful preparations in the art of wielding power. So today I will take you a little bit behind the scenes of how the Medici court trained its princesses to become some of Europe's most influential women, concentrating on Maria de Medici. But first, I'd like to share with you how this project came to life and its connection to my PhD research. Then I'll provide some background on Maria de Medici, outline my methodology, and discuss some initial discoveries. There will be time for questions and answers, and I hope we will be able to discuss a little bit future research directions. So let's begin. So when I first came across the MAP fellowship call, I was in the final stages of my PhD, writing my dissertation, Gender and Charity in Medici and Florence, Montalva's Educational Institutions as a case study, in which I examined gender, social, and religious factors at play with the establishment and management of a conservatory and schools in Florence during the 17th century. So as I learned as part of my research, very little has been studied about the education of girls within the Tuscan court. I was trying to compare the education in Montalva school with that in the Medici court, and I wanted to compare it, but there was very little research. So I wanted to shed more light on this subject. However, I quickly realized that female education at the Medici court was a vast topic, far too broad for 3 months fellowship, and I needed to narrow the focus. As I discussed my ideas with colleagues and explored potential angles, I came to the unexpected realization that very little is known about Maria de Medici, early years in Tuscany. That's when I decided to focus on her as a case study. So in this research, my aim is to explore the vast collection housed, particularly in Florentine archives, to deepen our understanding on how the Medici princesses were educated and how their education aligned with broader patterns of female learning in Tuscany and Italian peninsula. So beyond that, I seek to reframe our perspective on how the Medici dynasty's ambition influenced the education of the daughters, shaping their roles within the political landscape of early modern Europe. So who was Maria de Medici? Maria de Medici was born in Florence on 26 April 1575 into one of Italy's most powerful families. Maria's date of birth was under scholarly debate, with many historians and publications claiming she was born in 1573. Alessio, who's with us, resolved this and proved she was in 1575. So from her birth, her life have been very interesting. She was the sixth daughter of Francesco Primo de' Medici, Grand Duke of Tuscany, and Archduchess Joanna of Austria. Her mother's death in 1578, when Maria was only 3 years old, marked her early childhood. Her father then married Bianca Capello in 1579. And Maria grew up in the Pitti Palace alongside her siblings, particularly close to her sister Leonora, who would later marry future Duke of Mantua, Vincenzo Gonzaga. After her father's death in 1587, Maria's uncle Ferdinando Primo de' Medici became Grand Duke of Tuscany. Following his rise to power, he actively pursued marriage negotiations on her behalf, with several early attempts failing before the successful arrangement that led her to her union with Henry IV of France. Formal negotiations began in 1599, and the marriage was celebrated by proxy in Florence in October 1600, when Maria was 25 years old, which is relatively old for that time, and afterwards she moved to France. Now, I was thinking how to start and conduct this research, and I thought of to make it in two patterns. First, I thought it should be a kind of chronological research, starting with Maria's birth and going to 1600 and maybe a couple of years afterwards, until the first 2-3 years of her life in the French court. Another way I wanted to do is going on concentric cycles, starting from Maria's own letters or any text that She was writing and going outward to looking into family correspondence, court documents, and diplomatic correspondence in order to learn more about what she was thinking, what she was doing from her own words and from what other people were thinking about her. Searching the collections of family letters at the Archive di Stato in Florence yielded only a few of Maria's letters. However, I found many letters written by her sister Leonora to her. So I thought that would be a good idea to go to Mantua and look for her letters over there. And then at the State Archive, I found a collection of Maria's letters to her sister. Beyond that, I expanded my search to documents written by her family members, examined court correspondence, including the Carteggio dei Segretari, Minuti di Lettere, Registri, and other. I have now a little small archive in my computer, sorry, which is waiting to be analyzed. So I now have this wealth of sources to analyze, and I might need to go to the archives again. But I thought that a good way to start my analyzation of the information about Maria's education and about Maria in general was to start from her letters, so childhood letters. So that means I'm starting from here, or a little bit here, I might say, and from this inner circle, and then from there I proceed. And what I will tell you today is based about those letters which I managed to analyze meanwhile. So one thing that becomes immediately clear, just a minute. Okay. One thing that comes immediately clear from analyzing the documents is the importance the Medici family placed on writing skills. One clear example can be found in a letter of June 1584. Maria was a little bit over 9 years old, in which she apologizes to her sister Leonora for not writing the letter in her own hand, mentioning that she has not fully recovered yet from the mumps. Maria's apology for not writing the letter in her own hand by herself suggests that she usually did so, and perhaps was expected to write it her own. The significance of writing is supported by a letter of other Medici children. For example, we can see here the letter of Anna de Medici. I just want to say, I go back for a little. You see here, this is not Maria's handwriting, which we will see a little bit later. You can see down here, Maria's, I hope you can see it. No, it's Maria's signature, which is very nicely written. So this is Anna's letter. You can see again a very nice, beautiful handwriting, and her signature is here. And Anna is very proud of her ability to write herself. And then she say in this letter that although it seems that Princess Leonora, the sister, although she thinks that she writes better than Anna, and this is a good reason for Leonora's letter to be enough and sufficient for both of them. Anna didn't want to agree for that, and she insists that she can write good enough to write to their father and let him know about her well-being and about the well-being of the family, and this this pride she takes in her in disability is very beautiful to see in a child's letter, and I think that this really proves how important it was for the children and probably for the family, the skill of writing by one's own hand. So if we compare the handwriting of the girls to their mother, you see here Maria de Medici's signature. This is her mother's signature, Giovanna of Austria, and I've taken this from a letter. So you see that Maria's hand is even more firm and very clear. Like if we see on another, I will move to another letter of Giovanna. You see over here that the signature is a little better. This is Giovanna's handwriting, which unfortunately, I'm not sure you can see it good enough because of the problem of the slides. But it seems that Giovanna's handwriting has improved since she arrived to the Medici court. So while Diana Shemek, who analyzed the letter of Isabella d'Este, argues that Isabella was trained to use scribes and secretaries to transmit her voice, analyzing the letter of Maria and the other and Anna and other Medici children, reveals that the Medici children were trained to write them by their own hands. So why would the most powerful family in Tuscany insist that their daughters master the art of writing when they have an army of skilled scribes at their disposal? So the contrast between Isabella d'Este epistolary training and those of the Medici princesses offers a valuable window into female education in Italian court, which I propose we look at it from two different angles. First, it may illuminate an intriguing evolution of how elite Italian families approach female literacy and agency from the Renaissance to the post-Tridentine era. While both families aimed to establish their daughters as capable rulers and diplomatic agents, they took different paths to this goal. The Este court, as Shemek demonstrated, trained Isabella to master the art of dictation and to work effectively with secretaries, skill that would prove essential in her future role as Marchesa di Mantua. And the Medici, however, appear to have prioritized direct mastery of writing, which may reflect the rising significance of female literacy and writing skill in 16th century, when even girls and boys of humble origins learned some basic reading and writing skill in schools of Christian doctrine and charitable institutions. However, I think there is another dimension to it. The Medici princesses, while undoubtedly having access to skilled secretaries, were also trained in personal writing, a practice that reflects Tuscany's mercantile culture. Deeply rooted in the family's history as wealthy merchants, where written communication played a vital role. This complementary approaches to female epistolary education reveal how Italian courts adapted their education practices to serve both aristocratic needs and regional cultural traditions. The result was a sophisticated system of female education that prepared women like Maria de Medici to function effectively in both courtly and practical spheres. This leaves, however, further questions about authorship and textual voice. Did Maria the child compose her letters independently? Who supervised her writing? Tutors, family members, and other people at court? So I still don't have the answer to that. However, it is pretty clear that someone trained Maria, since her letters follow rigid conventions of letter writings of her time. Letters typically opened with carefully addressed address that precisely matched the social status. They were typically concluded with elaborated closing formulas expressing submission and devotion, such as Le Bacio le Mani. So if we see here in Maria's letter, so we can see up here in the letter to her sister, Serenissima Signora Sorella et mia Signora Osservantissima, the opening phrases and the finishing, Affettissima Sorella et Servitrice, and also we see here Bacio le Mani, and also the convention of where this letter was sent, the Fiorenza and the date. So Maria kept the dating, she kept all those rigid conventions, and it is very clear that someone taught her how to write those letters according to the conventions. Now, if we look at the letters, we see that it seems that she was taught some phrases and was using them in several letters, regardless of whether they were correct or not. For example, I take here Con queste poche righe with this few lines. So in many letters, whether there were few lines or many lines or con quattro righe, I keep the writing with the spelling mistakes and the different conventions as they are in all my transcriptions here. So whether it was for lines or not, then you see that she copies it from different letters. So she was very serious about it. And so I don't know who was teaching her. I hope that when I finalize analyzing all those other documents, I might have an answer, but this is still an open question. So given all that, who taught her? So we have some clues and from financial ledgers. So we can see here, stating the Medici Grand Ducal household expenses. So those financial ledgers that stating the Medici Grand Ducal household expenses shed some light and mention, for example, Jacopo Lucchini naming him as Maestro delle Principesse. What exactly did he taught the princesses is not clear. Maria Fubini Leuzzi and Maria Pia Paoli mentioned him too, as well as other tutors, including Pozia di Ser Galeazzo and Laura della Geladina, who substituted her in 1589. And both names are found in Maria's letters, but so we know they had those teachers, but we don't know what did they teach them. While Maria's letter provide some indirect insight into her own education, like we know from the letters that her sister Leonora learned to play the lute. We don't know exactly what Maria herself studies. The financial ledger I mentioned hold in those lists. We could see here that there were painters and sculptors, and there were writers, and there were musicians, and we can assume that they taught the princesses, but exactly Who taught them? What did they learn? We don't know. So, given the scarcity of direct evidence in Maria de Medici's letters regarding her education and the limited insights provided by other sources, I decided to explore this topic, focusing on the purpose of the education rather than curriculum, changing my perspective. So, while Paul Grandler foundational research of the 80s focused primarily on the formal male education, feminist scholars have expanded the discussion to encompass the various forms of education available to young women, building on this broader framework without diminishing the importance of formal education instruction that Maria had undoubtedly received. I propose that her training extended beyond the formal instruction. And the training prepared them not only to become good Christian wives of European rulers, but also to wield social and even political influence, particularly through participation in epistolary networks. Now, epistolary networks function through carefully structured hierarchies of influence, such as correspondence. Such correspondence reveals how aristocratic women created power structures that allow them to exercise significant political authority while maintaining their time's social and diplomatic protocols. The system of female-centered diplomatic exchange suggests a more nuanced understanding of political power in early modern Europe, where women's influence extended well beyond the traditional boundaries of the prescribed social roles. Analyzing Maria's letter revealed her systematic introduction to this sophisticated skill. So the simplest form of epistolary practice is the letter of compliment, which informs the recipient of one's well-being, which were often used to reinforce the social relationship. For example, this letter from November 1584, again, we see in these two lines only to pay reverence to your most serene highness, etc., etc. Maria informed of her well-being and the family. She wished her happiness, but there's no real business in it. Another letter here, another example of a letter written not to his sister, this time to her father, Francesca, in which she thanked him for the beautiful lemons that he sent her. This is also a beautiful letter, like a thank you letter you would receive today from children. You can see here the beautiful handwriting, the signature that we saw before. Like before, Maria keeps all the standard phrases. She's very meticulous about it. However, Maria's correspondence didn't stay very long on this level of simple letters and quickly evolved to reflect more sophisticated engagement with the court politics and express her first steps in patronage. On March 1585, she petitioned on behalf of Maestro Domenico, one of the household's personnel. She asked her sister Leonora to recommend him for the Grand Duke, her father, asking him to grant Domenico a vacant position following the death of Orazio Staccini. Another letter from September 85 exposes Maria's involvement in marriage negotiations. When she wrote to his sister Leonora about a marriage contract, Maria insisted that Leonora's proposed contribution of 100 scudi was insufficient for their nanny's daughter and urged her to increase the amount. This early examples of negotiation highlights Maria's growing awareness of financial matters, familial obligations, and the dynamics of patronage. Maria's mother, Grand Duchess Joanna of Austria, for instance, actively expanded the Medici dynasty's influence by encouraging marriage alliances between prominent Florentine courtiers and German ladies-in-waiting. This strategy allowed her to extend her social network and incorporate new clients across Tuscany and Germany. Maria's early effort to secure a favorable marriage settlement for her nanny's daughter reflect a similar understanding of patronage and alliance building. A year and a half later, in February 87, Maria was involved in court politics on higher position, as evident in her correspondence with Leonora concerning an appointment to the canonship of San Lorenzo, the Medici family's church. She advocated for Agnolo Bizzelli, a candidate Leonora had previously recommended to their father following the illness of the current canon. This case represents another instance where Maria was involved in an opportunity to presented by death or imminent death to advanced candidates she favored or had been persuaded to support, because we don't know if it was her own initiative to write such letters to recommending personnel of the Medici court, or her relationship with people in court that persuaded her to be involved, maybe family. But such moment of transitions proved to be critical junctures where she could exercise her influence over appointments and succession, demonstrating her active role in patronage networks and political maneuvering within this court system, whether it was a training, like a drill, or whether it was truly her own participation within those networks, something she initiated. So Maria's correspondent beyond the Medici court, and she wrote directly to the ducal family of Mantua, where her sister lived after the marriage. And she wrote even directly to her brother-in-law in her letter of December 87. I think we have it here, yeah. That Maria sent to her brother-in-law, she advocated for a member of the Medici household, Giovanni Arrighi, a Medici courtier and diplomat whom she recommended to her brother-in-law, the Prince of Mantua. So think about this not even 10 years old girl writing to the Prince of Mantua, recommending a courtier of the Medici. A few years later, April 88, at 13, Maria requested Vincenzo, by then the Duke of Mantua, that he grant whatever favor her uncle, Grand Duke Ferdinando, sought. So, like a few months after her father's death, and after Ferdinando became the Grand Duke, she recommends her uncle to the Duke of Mantua. The last example I will present is related to another key genre within the system, the supplica, through which high-ranking persons petition their peers for pardons, detentions, and other judicial matters. Maria's letter similarly revealed her engagement in legal intercessions, reinforcing the idea that she was trained in various genres of correspondence and that women's education extended well beyond formal schooling. So this is really, no, this is the last example. So one such example, I don't have the letter here in the presentation, is this kind of supplica where she intervened on behalf of Maddalena Gaetani, a court lady. In April 86, she turned to her sister, now the Duchess of Mantua, asking her to intercede with their father to secure the release of Maddalena's brother, who had been sentenced to prison. Unfortunately, I didn't find Leonora's answer. I don't know what became of it. So this case is not only another example of patronage within the Medici household. It also exemplified Maria's training in a genre of correspondence with which women used to wield power and influence. So, for conclusions, I want to say first, regarding literacy and writing skills, Maria's letter revealed that at the age of 9, she had already mastered the skills of writing. The emphasis on personal handwriting, rather than relying on scribes, reflects the unique Medici approach to education. Analyzing Maria's letters illuminates her training in creating and maintaining epistolary networks. Maria's progression from simple letters complement to more sophisticated political intervention demonstrate how young aristocratic women learn to navigate complex political networks through carefully calibrated hierarchies of influence. Through these letters, we can trace her development from a child learning basic courtly correspondence to a sophisticated political actor capable of wielding influence across various spheres of court life. Most significantly, Marie's correspondence challenges our understanding of Renaissance and early modern women's education. Rather than merely focusing on artistic accomplishments or religious instruction, singing, dancing, etc., young noble women received sophisticated political training through their epistolary practice. They learn to navigate complex hierarchies, build strategic alliances, and master the art of diplomatic negotiations, skills that proved essential for the survival and success in European courts. Maria de Medici's progression from Medici princess to powerful political actor exemplifies how noble women's education served not just cultural but practical political purpose, preparing them for significant roles in governance and diplomacy. So this is based on what I found for now. This project is far from being finished, ended, and looking forward, I hope that analysis of other sources that I already have and maybe other sources that I will have will shed light on more aspects of Maria's formal education. For example, what texts did she read? What books were available for her? How did her reading materials compare to contemporary noble women education outside court? I would like to analyze Maria's epistolary networks to fulfill a wider analysis. I would like to learn more about educational practices, deeper investigation of the role of the tutors, examining financial records might illuminate a little bit more about the education. There's so much to do. I might get to comparative studies. I don't know, and but I think that what I really want to do beyond the issue of the education is to learn more about Maria de Medici, the person. Who was this person? Who was this child that was writing to people, recommending people at the age of 9 or 10 or 13, dealing with court politics. This is from those letters, and like between the lines, she was writing, although she was very rigid about conventions. I get to see like the person who became this strong woman that was the French queen. So I would love to hear your questions now, and also if you have any ideas, suggestions for my future research, that would be great. This is my email. If anyone would like to write and ask more questions, or have any conversation about this, that would be wonderful. And I think we can stop the screen share. And yeah, so
thank you so much. That was really interesting to hear. This is exactly what we were looking for, to hear about your project. And we all know that as you just finished your fellowship at MAP, the project cannot be even close to finish. So, my first question is about what changed in your analysis, in your data, in your findings from the time you started your project at MAP until the time you left Florence?
Yeah. When I came to Florence, I was thinking about the project, about trying to understand more about curriculum, because my PhD dissertation was dealing with educational institutions in Florence for lay schools, and I knew a little bit what training they gave to their pupils, but also I didn't know. I mean, everything is like indirect information. So we get from letters mentioning prayers in Latin, so we understand that they knew Latin. From letters mentioning Leonora's playing the lute, we know. And I was hoping that sitting for 3 months in the archive, I might be able to have more like hard evidence, like more direct evidence about what did they teach, what did they learn. I don't know. It's a fantasy finding Maria's diary. Well, today I was advancing my French, so no, obviously we cannot find it, But I was hoping to find a little more, but I'm getting the understanding that maybe because it's female education, so materials were not important enough to be kept, or information about the progress of the girls are not. I didn't find anything yet. But again, maybe I have it in my computer and I just didn't get to it, because sitting in the archive, I was scanning and took so many photos, because for me, coming to sit for 3 months in Florence, it's a great opportunity, and I wanted to use this time for collecting documents in the archive. So I believe that changing this perspective about the question, education for what? This is, I don't know if we'll stay with this, or maybe I will be able to find more direct evidence. And also, I think I fell in love with my subject. I really want to know more about her as a person. It's you're getting in touch, reading the personal letters and everything. Yeah.
No, I totally understand. So I'm curious to know if Mantua was on your agenda from the beginning.
No, totally no. I was thinking about sitting in the Florence Archive, the Archivo di Stato, and then, but what happened that, like, at the beginning, I started to look for materials, and I was sitting with Alessio, and we were trying to understand which buste we should I should look and which how to look at it. I mean, there's so much material, and then, but then when I started reading and the collections of the family's letters. There were few letters, but not many of Maria. And then I said, okay, if Leonora's letters to Maria are kept in Florence, and there must have been many letters Maria wrote to her sister, because there were many letters from Leonora. So I said, okay, maybe they are in Mantua. And that's why I decided to go to Mantua, and I found some references in other papers. So I had like a few leads, and then I went to Mantua, and I received help, and I was looking on the inventars, and so I think that in whatever research you're doing, you must be very flexible. And this is what I tell also. I gave a lecture to PhD candidates a couple of weeks ago at Tel Aviv University, and I told them, if you know exactly what you're going to do, and you finish your PhD walking on the same direct path which you thought about in your proposal, then you didn't do a proper research. You have to be flexible. You have to see, because we don't know where we're going. So this is one thing, like if I don't find it here, I should look for it elsewhere. So I believe that in the future, I believe that I might be going to other archives in Italy, maybe looking for I don't know, marriage negotiations that failed or whatever. But it's not everything in Florence. Just I want to know what went out from Florence elsewhere, and not just. So I think it would be a more comprehensive research if I look for it elsewhere.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing this experience. So we have two questions in the Q&A. The first is by Kathleen. Thank you for this fascinating presentation, which I second. Are you aware of any changes in Maria's education introduced by Bianca Capello?
Actually, no. This is one thing that I was trying. I have a collection of Bianca Capello's letters, and as I was reading it briefly while I was in the archive, I didn't find any, again, hard evidence about it. But then again, while I was in the archives, I was reading briefly the documents, and I should read it again, and maybe there is something, but I didn't. It is amazing that there's hardly anything about the children. The children are okay, the children are sick, the children stayed with the nanny. I didn't find anything about their education. So I'm not saying it's not there. So, but because I came less than 2 months ago from Florence. And in Florence, I was, as I said, basically collected materials more than analyzing it. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer now.
Thank you. The next question is by Beth. Hi, Inbar. Thanks so much for your talk. One thing I'm curious about is whether Maria, as an adult, encouraged the education of her daughters in a manner similar to her own Florentine experience, or whether differences at the French court influenced how or what her daughters learned.
We, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for two reasons. First, as I said, I started my research now by focusing on Maria's letters, childhood letters, which is, and I didn't get to analyze material from the French court, but also my focus is the first 25 years of Maria in the Medici court, because her life in the French court has been discussed under several biographies, many papers. I'm not sure if they're dealing with the education. I truly don't know, but my focus is really of her life before she arrived to the French court. If I'm interested in the French court, it's like letters of the ambassadors, for example, saying, well, the Queen is mastering French, and so I can understand that her French wasn't perfect when she arrived to Paris, and so this kind of information. So it's a little bit outside the focus of my research.
Right. Yes, they actually, Beth even mentioned that this question may be beyond the scope of your project, but thanks for your response. The next question is by Elizabeth Fama. Wow, I'm flabbergasted at the letter from 10-year-old Maria to the Dukes recommending a Florentine courtier to him, as well as the letter she wrote when she was 13. It makes me immediately wonder how the adults in the background were involved in instigating the writing of those letters and how the dynamic worked between the courts. Surely Maria didn't send them without the knowledge of her elders. So it says, right, something fascinating, not just about educating a princess in the art of diplomacy, but also about using a very young princess to achieve a political goal. This latter direction of research would interest me so much. Do you have any comments or feedback?
Yeah, I think it is exciting. Like, obviously, there's not a chance that a 10-year-old child wrote to the Duke. Nobody knew about it, or not a chance. But it is wonderful, I think, to see how they trained her, how somebody, I don't know who, I don't know whether it was her tutors, whether it was family, whether it's amazing that she writes directly to the Prince of Mantua, and you say, okay, you know, this is really amazing, but who was involved within it? Who suggested she recommend that she write to sister saying the money for the dowry is not enough? Who suggested she intervene on behalf of this of Domenico for the other? I don't know. I don't know whether she was involved and how involved she was. I mean, there's not a chance, like we said, that nobody knew about his letters, obviously. But it's interesting to say how they taught her how to write those letters, to how to practice this way of creating and keeping this epistolary network, and for a variety of reasons and a variety of letter genres. And so I don't know if I hope to find more, but I don't feel, I mean, I don't have high hopes for finding something. Yes, I told Maria that she should, or whatever, but I don't know. I must be very, have
I know
high
it's never
hopes.
this easy. We wish she was, but it's never this easy. And it's a very slow process of finding the
Yes.
data and then analyzing it and seeing what else you need, especially for those, well, you're much closer to the archives, but those who are in the United States, you know, elsewhere, it's far, right? And it requires you know, a lot of coordination
Yeah.
to
So
go
also
and have the access.
going from Israel, definitely this time to Italy is also, you know, so I just we learn to work with what we have in hope to come there again and find more information. But yeah, it's
Absolutely. Yes. We do have a resource suggestion by Kathleen, the one who asked the first question. With respect to her daughters, there is some research on Henrietta Maria, Queen of England, showing that she was relatively poorly educated. So
okay.
if you need more information, I can put both of you in contact, or if you
Yeah,
already
that would
know
be,
Kathleen,
yeah, that would be very helpful.
sure, yes. Kathleen, I am going to just provide Inbar's email. I know it's already okay, wonderful. Inbar, Kathleen provided her email.
Okay.
If you can, yes. So
Yeah.
if you can have that, otherwise maybe I can just copy
Okay.
and paste it here, and I will put both of you in contact. I'll do that.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll also send a message via Instagram. Okay, so you already have Kathleen. And I will also, in any ways, I will put you both in contact. We have 3 minutes, and I do have a question. So if you could keep it brief, that would be great, so that everybody can go to bed on time. So my question is about how do you think your findings thus far about women's education, or, you know, in the case of Maria de Medici, do you think it enriches or challenges the existing narratives on early modern women education and their role in shaping the political and also cultural landscape of the period?
Well, I think that the role of women in epistolary networks, it has been mentioned, but I'm not sure. And also, as I said, I'm at the beginning of this research. I'm not sure that how they train the daughters to be part of this epistolary network has been researched properly. So I think this could really add to the knowledge about the education of the daughters of the elite, the royal families, beyond the education of like whether it was humanistic education or artistic or whatever. But I think this practice of training them for epistolary networks, I'm not sure it has been researched enough. So this might be a good way.
Of course, yes, and good luck with that. With this, I also inform everyone that I copied Inbar's email in the chat, so everybody can have access. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to Inbar. She's been kind enough and generous enough to share her email, and I'm also happy to put you in contact. Thank you so much again, Inbar, for accepting our invitation and being with us. This is a fascinating topic, and good luck with the rest of your research. And we hope to see you again in the future when you have your book in your hand or you have defend, published in any other forums. So yeah, looking forward to hearing more about your project. And I also want to thank everybody who joined us tonight for this fascinating talk. I hope to see you again next week, same time, same link. Please join us again. Have a great rest of the week. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Inbar. Bye. Have a good night. Bye.